This is Christopher Moldong of Chris's Storytelling Corner. Today I'm going to do a movie review for I Love You Hater. Next time I'll have a manga review for Skip Beat Volumes 25 and 26, a book review for Hero Born Legends of the Condor Heroes Volume 1, and a movie review for Disney's Christopher Robin. Check out my Twitter page and author's Facebook page. Links to all these will be provided on the description. I'd really like to hear from you guys as well, so leave any comments and make sure to subscribe and share this channel as well. So, the way that this is going to work is that I'm going to give a detailed recap of I Love You Hater and then give my thoughts on the movie. So, if you haven't seen the movie yet, just to tell you, there will have spoilers. As far as an initial grade goes, I'll give it like a C or C plus. So, let's recap I Love You Hater. The movie begins with Joko speaking with his family through FaceTime, talking about his new job in New York. At the same time, Zoe goes to the airport to see her father and just to visit him, really, and surprise him to tell him that she graduated cum laude. It turns out that Joko is still working in the Philippines, just as a regular worker, because he was fooled by an illegal recruiter. At the same time, Zoe sees her father at the airport, but he acts like he doesn't know her since he is with his current wife and new daughter. Zoe goes to the bridge and says that she won't cry, but she does, and Joko sees her. Zoe goes back home and sees that SASHA Imperial of SASHA World is looking for a new assistant. Joko's roommate, at the same time, helps him get an interview with GMC. GMC is located at the same building as SASHA World, and Joko gets on the same elevator as SASHA and one of her assistants. After impressing her on the elevator, SASHA picks Joko to be her new assistant. They go to the office, and before SASHA can officially announce that Joko is her new assistant, Zoe speaks up, who was already there being interviewed. She speaks up and says that she should be her new assistant. Zoe mentions that they don't hire straight males, and Joko says that he's gay. SASHA then puts them both in a 3-month probation period to see who'll be her next assistant. Joko asks his gay roommate and his partner to teach him how to be gay. They then try to impress SASHA in various ways. At work, obviously. It turns out that Zoe's ex, Andrew, works there as well. They go to SASHA's home and meet her father, who doesn't remember her and thinks that Joko is his son George. They go to the wedding of Zoe's stepsister, as SASHA knows Zoe's father. Zoe leaves and Joko helps cheer her up. Zoe and Joko get closer and call each other Beshi. I think it's supposed to be bestie, but they pronounce it Beshi. SASHA asks the team to think of a new show. Joko and Zoe propose a show that tests whether or not SASHA will do something or not, since one of SASHA's mottos is kind of like never say never and whatnot. So this will test whether she will say never to something. SASHA loves the idea, and they tell her that the first episode should have her meeting her ex-husband, Richard. SASHA agrees and tells them to go to Paete, which is Joko's hometown, to meet Richard. Joko and Zoe go to Paete, but Joko is cautious because it's his hometown and he may run into his family. They meet Richard and he reluctantly agrees to meet SASHA. Going back home, Joko sees his brother and he thinks that Zoe is his girlfriend. So Joko asks Zoe to lie to his family and pretend she's his girlfriend. She refuses but gets coerced to agree. Joko finds out that it's also Zoe's birthday in his family and he helps Zoe celebrate. Zoe and Joko get further attracted to each other, and then Uncle Henry shows up, who they owe money to, and Uncle Henry berates Joko's father and his family. Joko says that they'll pay him back. So before the first episode of the show, of SASHA's new show, Richard has reservations about going through with it. Joko tries to convince him to go through with it by telling him that SASHA still loves him. Through the phone, Richard tells SASHA that he can't go through with it. And he leaves, leaving SASHA just kind of embarrassed. And had to cut the show short. SASHA fires Joko and Zoe becomes SASHA's assistant. Zoe, though, tells SASHA that what happened was her fault and asks that Joko be SASHA's assistant. The other thing is, too, Zoe knows that Joko and especially his family needs money, especially to pay back Uncle Henry. So Zoe goes to Joko's apartment and admits that she's in love with him, and that she told Sasha to give Joko the assistant job. Joko admits that he's not gay and also loves her, also, but she gets angry at him for lying and she leaves. Joko goes back home to Payette and tells his father that he was never in New York. He then we also see him apologizing to Sasha and asks her to give Zoe the assistant job. Sasha also gives him some money too to help the family out, and tells him to live a more honest life. And at Sasha's home, Joko tells Sasha's father that he's not his son George, and Sasha's father admits that he loves his daughter and cares deeply for her. Zoe then becomes the Sasha's assistant, and pretty much right after a show, Sasha informs Zoe that she has a job interview at that pretty much at that second. So Joko appears and asks Zoe for forgiveness. She does, and they get together, and that's how it ends. So before we get into my thoughts on the movie, I'd like to plug my author's website at www.chrismaldon.com, and you can read a new blog post there every week. Also, do you like action, adventure, or fantasy? Crazy new characters, different worlds? Then buy my book, The Mustard Prince in the Condiment Kingdom, for just $4.99 via ebook on Amazon.com or on my author's website. Links to buy it will be provided on the page description. Please also subscribe to this channel as that'd really help me out. So, let's get into my thoughts on the movie. Let's go start with Joshua Garcia, who played Joko. The thing with Joko is, at the end of the day, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. Um, he lies a lot. He lies about big things too. They aren't like little lies. He says a lot of big lies. Like, hey, I'm working at New York. No, I'm not. Oh, I'm gay. No, I'm not. And that's the thing. There's a lot of like, and that's kind of just what gets him in trouble. But he's a good guy. After everything, he spends time with Sasha's father and kind of humors him. He's good to his family. He's good to Zoe too. He's a good guy that doesn't always make the best decisions. Zoe, who's played by Julia Barretto, I gotta say she's really cute. By the way. A bit flirtatious, a bit assertive. She's very assertive. Um, the chemistry between the two is kind of weird. It's kind of hard for me to believe that they really like each other in that way. If anything, they kind of just show in the movie that they're better friends than a couple, in my opinion. I didn't really get that type of romantic chemistry, but I did get a good platonic chemistry between the two. Um, she kind of plays her role pretty well. She hates liars. Um, and yeah, she played her role fine. There's also Kris Aquino, who played Sasha Imperial. Sasha, it's kind of funny with Sasha. I had this idea because she like owns the corporation that she'd be kind of devious or something like that, and it turns out she's really not. And like she was actually just pretty nice, pretty understanding, um, relatively patient with with these people, with these two and whatnot. Um, she's also played kind of the wiser uh the wise character, the sage character, in a sense that kind of gives the two characters advice. A lot of characters did that. Richard did that too. Richard and Sasha kind of did that for the characters. They're like the sage, who gave these younger folks, Zoe and Joko, advice, and just kind of really helped them out. So that was the other thing too. Throughout the whole thing, like Sasha was just really trying to help people out. It seemed like. Um, there are other characters too. Richard, he seemed very one note, I guess, like just this really serious guy. Can't get back, kind of virtuous in a sense. I can't get back with you, Sasha, because I don't want to fool you into, but like that, you know, fool you that like we can get together or something like that. He's like just like very virtuous guy. Sasha's father, it's kind of sad, in a sense. Like, wow, you're like, wow, you live with this person that's your dad, and your dad doesn't remember you. Pretty sad, it shows that Sasha's got like issues. She presents herself as this like happy person and whatnot, but at home, she has her issues. There's also like Zoe's friends, and then Joko has his own friends that kind of help him out as well, give him advice. Joko's family is there, very supportive of him. Joko's father is one of the more he's also a sage character too. He tries he's understanding. Gets a lot of flack from Uncle Henry, who's pretty much a jerk. you know. And Joko's father, once again, just a virtuous guy and whatnot. So, which is in stark contrast to Zoe's father, who has another family with a wife and daughter, and hides that Zoe is also his daughter. He's just lying through his teeth. Not a good guy, unlike Joko's father. And Zoe's father has a lot. I think he's a lawyer or something like that. Whereas Joko's father is barely paying the bills and has to ask his like brother-in-law, right? Brother-in-law, yeah, brother-in-law, to be for money. Whereas Zoe's father has all the money in the world and doesn't really do much for Zoe except use his money. Like he helped her get through college, if I'm not mistaken, but that's as far as it goes with Zoe's father. There's no love there. Whereas with Joko's father, there's love there. He even shows love to Zoe. So as far as the plot goes, it's pretty standard fare. You know what I mean? I gave this a C or C plus because it's not doing anything new for the genre or anything like that. Nothing really. You kind of knew the outcome before it happened. I mean, that's how romantic comedies usually go. But it was a pretty standard fare thing. So a couple themes with like tone, the truth, and lying. They don't really connect it well in a sense. Some things kind of come across abruptly. It's like I understand that Zoe doesn't like lying, but it kind of just its importance kind of just happens abruptly. When at the worst inopportune times for Joko in a sense. So I mean, they get into like some themes or whatnot, but like it doesn't really hold throughout the movie per se. You know. Also, it's a Filipino movie. There's a different type of comedy and acting. It definitely isn't. It's hard to compare it to like like American made like romantic comedies. The comedy is just different. There's a bit of more like overreaction to things and whatnot. In a sense that they can sometimes overact. Um, you have to get used to like them going from like Tagalog to English a lot of times isn't a bad thing. You get used to that pretty easily. Um, you know, it's really different. There's a different style. Notice like generally speaking, like the Asian style of romantic comedies that I've seen tend to be that way, where it's just a little more like I guess like overacting sometimes, a little more on the nose about things. I guess that it's not very subtle, So that's another thing you have to get used to. Overall, I mean, it was a fun movie. Wasn't bad or insulting or offensive or anything like that. So yeah, I didn't really have a problem with it. By the end, I thought the second half of the movie was better than the first. Actually, to be honest with you, um, it was fun enough, for sure. So that's all for today. If you like this, don't forget to subscribe, share, and comment to this channel. Thank you for listening to this movie review. Next time I will have a manga review for Skip Beat Volumes 25 and 26, a book review for Hero Born Legends of the Condor Heroes Volume 1, and a movie review for Disney's Christopher Robin. Thank you, and until next time.